The women's Final Four is set, and just like on the men's side, it is awfully chalky, but that sets up some monster matchups. Also, the Tush push, once again under fire, this time under the guise of player safety. And the only reason anyone cares about different looking baseball bats is because it was the Yankees who used them. I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
On the men's side, we've got chalk. On the women's side, more or less the same thing. Our bracket breakdown show for Amazon Fire TV gets you caught up.
As we get you set for the NCAA Women's Basketball Final Four, it is official. The Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games in the books. Very chalky as is typical for the women's tournament. 3 number 1 seeds moving on in UCLA, South Carolina, and Texas, and then second-seeded UConn into the Final Four after knocking off a USC team whose championship hopes were dashed with the injury to star Juju Watkins. Those 4 teams ready to meet in Tampa, but before we look ahead, we're going to recap what went down in the last weekend, starting with the number 1 overall seed, UCLA, moving on to the Final Four. The Bruins knocked off Ole Miss in the Sweet 16, then LSU in the Elite 8. Monique, the bottom line is that who is going to stop Lauren Betts? UCLA center has been terrific throughout this NCAA tournament, dropped 31 and had 10 boards against Ole Miss, 17.7 rebounds against LSU, but also 6 blocks. Just ridiculous numbers. What have you seen from her? I know, just keep filling it up. How would you sum up what she's done?
I mean, you ask a great question. Who's going to stop Lauren Betts? That's the question of the tournament. She's yet to face size in this tournament, her being 6'7". I'm interested to see her playing against UConn's bigger post if she makes it to the championship game, looking way far ahead, playing maybe a Texas who also have big posts. I'd like to see those matchups, but back-to-back games with 30 and 10 games. She just is so consistent. She's doing everything right now for UCLA.
No doubt. She's doing everything except in that second quarter against LSU. So here's the thing, folks. Lauren Betts was in some foul trouble, did not play in the second quarter of that Elite 8 matchup. That was the first time all season that she DNP'd in an entire quarter. But here's the thing. The Bruins still won that quarter by a large margin, 22-12. Who was it, Howard, that stepped up during that time?
The answer is everybody.
Yes.
And that's the most remarkable thing about it. We learned something so important about the UCLA Bruins, which is that all year, and again, to her credit, Lauren Betts has not been getting into foul trouble. So for the very first time, they had to answer the question, what do we do when Lauren Betts isn't on the floor? And the answer is everybody stepped up. I mean, Tamia Gardner, who has not had the year that she had in Oregon State last year, but is very, very capable, comes up with 3 threes up and down the roster. You saw Corey Close's team come through, and ultimately they finished with 10 threes, shot better than 40% from long distance. This team is ready in the event that somebody can slow down Lauren Betts to do what is necessary to win a national championship anyway.
That was one of my big questions surrounding this UCLA team is in the event that Lauren Betts isn't on the floor, gets into foul trouble, even rolls an ankle or something like that, is there enough scoring around her for this team to be able to beat really, really good teams? And I think they proved that in a massive way with that second quarter. But it wasn't just Tamia Gardner. Who else impressed you, Jordan, from what we saw in this game?
It was Gabriela Jaquez. I said to myself before the game, this had to be the Gabriela Jaquez game. And she finished with 18 points. I love the report that Holly did during the game, that in her elementary school report, she said, I want to go to UCLA and I want to be on the biggest stage. And she did, and she showed up. Manifesting. I love that. Speak it into existence. But I also love that Corey Close had a talk with Lauren Betts that said, we built a team around you. It is not all on you. And I think this was a proven right, that they were able to show, yes, we can show up even when you're not on the floor. So it was great for Gabriela Jaquez. Janiyah Barker also 6 points. Kiki Rice put in a couple points in that second quarter. So it was by committee.
This is super random. Gabriela Jaquez, though, not just a Bruin on the basketball court, but played softball last year.
Right.
Joined the softball team that was one of the best in the country. playing 2 sports at UCLA at that level. Talk about an athlete. And then in this game, Gabriela Jaquez knocked down a 3-ball when this team needed it most. 1:15 to go. LSU cut the lead to 6, and it was dumping it into Lauren Betts. The defense collapses. She kicks it out immediately. Gabriela Jaquez comes through in the clutch, and I just was so impressed by the way that a number of these different players stepped up around her.
Check out the Bracket Breakdown show on Amazon Fire TV channel's app and stay up to date all year on women's college basketball by subscribing to Locked On Sports today and Locked On Women's Basketball on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Your Locked On Sports today. Coming up is the brotherly shove, a football play. Something telling me the Eagles say yes. Before we get to that, a key matchup in the Western Conference playoff push. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. It's almost over. You got to hurry up if you want to get this bonus, $200 in bonus bets. When your first $5 bet wins, that's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly. No waiting around. FanDuel has new lines for who's going to win it all for the 4 remaining men's teams. Duke is the favorite of the 4. Auburn and Houston tied with the longest odds. FanDuel has Duke plus 110, almost even money to win the national title. Florida plus 270, then Houston and Auburn at plus 450. I would, if you want to bet not Duke, I would go the other side of the bracket. Pick one of those teams, and at least you have a chance to win the first game. And then, one game against Duke, anything can happen. I like it. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. The Lakers and the Rockets vied for playoff positioning on Monday night.
The big three, not the greatest game for any of them offensively, at least. All three made contributions in other areas. And the offense was fueled by guys from the supporting cast. So it was a really interesting win for the Lakers. Plenty to like in it. 104-98 is the final score over the Houston Rockets. We will break all of this down momentarily. But first, I do want to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. This, Andy, as you could tell by a 19-16 score after the first quarter, was not a work of art.
The Pelicans announced Monday Zion Williamson and CJ McCollum will not play the rest of the season with injuries, marking the 4th time in his 6 NBA seasons Zion has failed to play more than 30 games.
Look, whether these are injuries or not, this is probably the correct move for New Orleans in any capacity, right? This is no real surprise. And when you look at some of the egregious tanking going on in the NBA, we're looking at you, Philly and Utah. None of this is shocking whatsoever when it really comes down to it, because this is a good draft. Look at the players in the Final Four now who are going to be drafted here, including Cooper Flagg, kind of the prize pick of everything there. But you see these guys, and they look like they can be difference makers, so teams are going to prioritize their future, which is an important thing to do. And frankly, given that CJ hasn't played for the past couple games, Zion hasn't played for the past couple of games, yeah, they were basically out for the season. We weren't expecting to see Zion Williamson play at all. For the most part, the Pelicans have been tanking since midway through the month of March, let's say. It's the end of March when I'm recording this. So this all checks out, and it's truthfully probably the correct decision. But I do think it's a harder decision than you realize. So while it might be the correct one, I don't think this was necessarily like, let's shut him on down, not play him anymore, right? You're in the midst of a really tough year. You're looking to try and sell hope to fans and things like that. You need to do something like that. It's actually a rather important part of just, being a fan of a team, is having hope that your franchise will figure it out in some capacity. To do that, you got to see guys play. You can sell draft picks on all that, but we don't know what that's going to be for the Pelicans. So, if you end up with the 7th overall pick or something like that, you can't sell that as much as you can a top 1 or 2 pick or 3 pick in this draft. So you need to sell the players you currently have. And that would be Zion Williamson. Lesser extent, CJ McCollum. We know what he's capable of. but Zion is the franchise.
The Grizzlies and Celtics played an underman late season tilt.
Holiday and the other guys that had big games and just individual performances. Got to talk about Al Horford. Defensive rebound, I think, were a huge reason why the Celtics got this win. But let's just bask in the glow of a 6-0 road trip and 9 wins in a row. 6-0 road trip has never been done by a Boston Celtics team. Never. And I said it in the beginning there, the cold open. Do you understand how hard it is with all of the Celtics history, with as good as these teams have been since the beginning, the stacked teams of the 60s, all of these runs in the 70s and 80s and Larry Bird and all, they've never, not once, gone 6-0 on a road trip? I mean, granted, it's a long road trip, so there aren't a lot of 6-0 opportunities to be had, but at the same time, that is stunning to me that there's still something left, first of all, to be done that hasn't been done, and that this team is the one that did it. This is a special team.
And the Braves will be without one of their key outfield additions, this time not with an injury.
Look, shocking in many ways, but also now when you look at the season that Profar had last year, obviously, many people are going to point and say, okay, now it does make sense. Now we know why a 31-year-old had a breakout season offensively and showed more power than he's shown in a long time. Look, it was just the third highest ISO of his career, isolated power. He had hit over 20 home runs in 2018 and 2019. It's not like he wasn't capable of that, but those were the only other years outside of 2024, which again, his age 31 season, where you see the power suddenly come back. And you heard him talk a lot about swing changes that he made, and perhaps that is true, but now everyone is questioning that, and everyone should question that with what we have found out today. And was it legitimate what he did last year? How legitimate were those, swing changes, or was it, was it a little bit of both? Was it swing changes plus, a PED that really helped boost all of that?
The Green Bay Packers apparently took one for the team. Mark Murphy, the team's president, on his way out, pushing for the Tush push to be banned. And we heard from a number of coaches at the owner meetings down in Palm Beach in Florida. Oh, player safety. This is the way they're going to get the Tush push ban. Louis DiBiase from Locked On Eagles joins me now. And Lou, what do you think of this latest tact of putting this under the guise of player safety?
That's my problem with it. Just say that you don't like that it's an automatic play for the Eagles. Say that if you're a team like the Green Bay Packers who are competing in the NFC with this football team, that you don't like the automated part of it and you want it out because it's an advantage for Philadelphia. To me, the data says this play is not any more dangerous than any other play in football. It has not caused any serious injuries. So people hiding behind that as their reason to want this out of the league, I can't really get behind that. If you wanted this out for other reasons, then we can have a discussion. But the data is the data, and I don't think it's a dangerous play.
The part that bothers me is I just want it called properly. Can we just call everyone
Sure.
needs to be onside, offense and defense? Let's just call it the way that the rule is written and make that a point of emphasis. Like we see the point of emphasis every year. Why can't that be the compromise here? Like it's not any more or less fair. Any team can do it. So let's just have it called correctly.
Yeah, I get that. And again, if the Eagles were running this on first, second down, if they were running this like 30 to 40% of the time on their offense, and they're averaging, because they do sometimes get 4 to 5 yards out of this play, if they were doing it in that kind of way as almost a gimmick, but that's not what they do. They run it on the 1 yard line in the red zone and obvious third and fourth and inches situations. I don't think it impacts enough of the game to say, even if it wasn't about injuries, if you're talking about the product, it hurts the product on the field. Even that, it's hard for me to get behind because it's such a situational type of play. So I just don't think it affects the game enough for it to, get this much attention year in and year out where the league's constantly trying to remove it.
Why do you think even teams, like you hear Sean McDermott, Mike Tomlin, guys it's like you don't even play the Eagles except once every 4 years or in the Super Bowl. What do you attribute the fact that this seems to be annoying teams around the league?
The McDermott one is weird because this guy is on the committee, but at the same time ran it more than any team outside of the Eagles. So he's saying
4 times in the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs.
And it didn't work, so maybe that's why. He was kind of a little upset that in the AFC Championship it failed, and so he's over that play. But for him to say that it's all about like protecting the players, and yet he runs it more than anybody but Nick Sirianni, feels hypocritical to me. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I think, again, maybe there's some jealousy to it but the thing is everybody can do it. So I don't know why they don't just try it themselves. Like the Eagles and the Bills have had success with it as well in the past.
It is interesting too, because the Packers were the ones that put this forward. And they've actually had some success stopping it.
Yeah.
They did it last year, in fact. And,
Right.
and so it's one of those, and the Packers stole it. They use Tucker Kraft now instead of the quarterback. They use a tight end. We've seen the Chiefs use Travis Kelce in these things. It feels like there's just an opportunity to be creative here, and teams are saying, we don't want that. We want to just get this out. Is there a compromise in your mind here, other than what I suggested earlier, just call the play correctly?
I think it's just call the play correctly, or even if you remove the pushing part of this play, it's not that different than a QB sneak. When the Patriots used to run Tom Brady up the middle, when the Eagles used Carson Wentz with quarterback
that felt
sneaks,
automatic. Every time Tom Brady got under center and ran a
Exactly.
QB sneak, it felt like they got a first down every single time, and no one was doing
Exactly. And when the Eagles had Carson Wentz, even before this tush push era, they had a lot of success with the quarterback sneak. I think that's the part people are missing. The push helps a little bit. It gives you somewhat of an advantage, but the main part of this play that's so automatic is the Eagles' elite offensive line and a quarterback that can squat 600 pounds. I think even if they remove the push part, the Eagles are going to still be pretty unstoppable on 4th and inches, like most teams would be if they just kept it simple. The Eagles just keep it simple, and instead of running a play out of shotgun on 4th and inches, they're just jamming it up the middle and getting that 1 yard. And so I don't know why they're almost getting punished for just making the obvious decision that everybody else in the league could do as well.
Would you be opposed to them saying, look, the push part is the part that we need to get? Like, that used to be a thing that you could not do. And then they kind of just said, we don't really care about it anymore. Like, if they went back to saying, look, no one lined up behind the quarterback can push, but still do the rest of this, that seems reasonable to me. And I think the Eagles it would probably affect them exactly 0.
That's the thing. I'm not really that passionate about the play staying in the game. If it's removed, that's fine. Because again, I think the Eagles are still going to be the best short yardage offense in football. Yeah. It's the reasoning behind it.
They also have Saquon Barkley for crying out loud.
Exactly. It's the reasoning behind it that bothers me, because I know it's more about the Eagles' success compared to the rest of the league, and it doesn't have to do with the player safety. And I wish these coaches and teams would just come out and say that.
Stay up to date all year on the Philadelphia Eagles by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Eagles on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the only reason we're talking about bats is because it was the Yankees who used them.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
The Yankees scored 36 runs in 2 games against the Milwaukee Brewers. Some say it's because of some less than honest manipulation of the rulebook concerning baseball bats. Locked On Yankees host Brian McKeon and Stacey Gitsoulias say the only reason anyone is talking about this is because it's the Yankees who did it.
Let's get into the story that everybody's really talking about, and it's these torpedo bats that the Yankees are using. First, just to throw out there, they did put up the MLB rulebook, and I went on my own and actually read through the MLB rulebook on the size of the bats. The Yankees are doing nothing remotely illegal whatsoever. Now, Major League Baseball may turn around and try to change the rulebook before, within a week and get rid of these bats. That's totally up for grabs. They can do that. But the Yankees, honestly, props to them. Props to their analytics department. They apparently did the research and saw that Anthony Volpe's majority of hits are from within the inner part of the label on the bat. He's not quite hitting the barrel. He's hitting it just short of the barrel. And they realized, what if we make the barrel longer towards the bottom of the bat and the top of the bat skinnier? The bat has to be within certain lengths and it has to be round shaped throughout the entire bat. There's nothing wrong with what they did. It looks weird, and that's why people have a problem with it. But there's already, I heard one pundit out there say that this must be illegal because the bats don't look like this and because nobody else is doing this around baseball. It's the second game of the season. That's when people realized the bats were there. So that's probably why no one was doing it in baseball prior. The Yankees didn't want to show this to people prior before games meant anything. And Stacey, the Minnesota Twins catcher used one on Sunday. So it's already getting its way around the league. It's just crazy.
The thing about it not being done before is false because there's evidence of bats similar to this being used as far back as 2019. Cody Bellinger tried to use one when he was with the Cubs, didn't quite like it, but he tried using a bat similar to this torpedo bat, as they're calling it. The whole thing is it's because it's the Yankees. People want to accuse the Yankees of trying to cheat and trying to be bad and trying to do things. And it's just ridiculous at this point how people run away with this. And the funny thing about it is no one would have known if Michael Kay didn't say anything in the game.
They're right. They're probably right. But the other problem is we also know that the Yankees have that short porch out there and right. And so the ball just goes and goes. And they have these bats, even if they are legal. And let's just assume, for the sake of argument, that they really, truly are. We'll see if baseball agrees. It does seem to run afoul of the premise of uniformity in equipment, that the Yankees are quite literally making their own equipment. Imagine if one of the teams in the NFL said, actually, we're going to use our own helmets. We're going to use our own shoulder pads. We're going to use our own technology. Don't you think that would raise some eyebrows around the league? Don't you think other teams would go, wait a second, why are you doing that? Now, it's not quite the same, of course, because the bats directly impact the play on the field. It might be more akin to a team in the NBA saying, actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to use our own basketballs. It's already a weird thing in baseball that the field itself is not uniform. And you can build a team to benefit your stadium. Oh, carry the ball, 180 feet, a soft fly ball to the outfield wall is a home run in Yankee Stadium, but isn't in 28 other parks. Well, we can build our team to take advantage of that. Yes, you could hit home runs too, but you don't have the hitters in the lineup designed to do that. It already smacks of inequality at the very least, even if it's not downright cheating. This is weird. We have to admit it's weird. And I don't know where we go from there. I really don't. And finally, Browns owner Jimmy Haslam called the Deshaun Watson trade, well, what you or I or anyone else would probably call it, a big swing and a miss. Speaking of baseball, maybe they could have used those Yankees bats. That probably would have helped. We took a big swing and miss with Deshaun, Haslam said, down in West Palm for the owners' meetings. We thought we had a quarterback. We didn't. And we gave up a lot of draft picks to get him. So now we've got to dig ourselves out of that hole. I don't think the Yankees have special bats for that, though, unfortunately for them. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, who's going to win it all on the men's side of the bracket? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports.